I believe that fear gets way too much airplay. I think so many people say, well, people don't take action because they have too much fear, or fear is holding people back. And I think this is so common in our language, it's almost to the point where it's almost comedic. It's ridiculous. It's like, well, what are they fearful of? What are they so scared of? We live in the modern world right now where there's not all these impulsive fears that are driven by a physical reality to be safe. We're not being chased by animals that are trying to kill us often, right? So most of the fears that we actually have are just negative contemplative thoughts that we're rerunning too often, and we're associating so much pain to that. Now it becomes convenient. Oh, it's fear. As if some fear is some big, unknowable, scary, awful thing. Well, mostly it's not. Most fear is just bad management of our own mental faculties. It's not an impulsive physical thing generating in our brain, telling us to, fight, flight, or flee, and everyone wants to use that as an excuse. We still have all these, biological psychologists or people running around saying, well, it's just an impulsive thing that people can't understand or be conscious of, right? It's the unconscious fears. It's just wiping us out. It's like, get over it. Neuroscience has shown, we have much more powerful capabilities than most of us think that we do. And the reality is, most fear, once you understand what it actually is, and it usually is a contemplative process, and once they understand what it is, then it's like, oh, we can overcome it. Because what is it then? I mean, what is fear? What are we so scared of? What's going to hurt us? What is this thing that we fear is going to bring so much pain in our lives? Ever thought about it? What is it? What is the thing that we're so scared that's going to bring in all this pain to our lives? I remember figuring this out for myself, and when I did, I wasn't so scared anymore. Because sometimes, the things, once you understand them more, they're not so terrifying. Once something becomes knowable, you can develop competency around it. Once you can develop competency around it, then you can develop confidence around it. There's this old thing in psychology we call the competence-confidence loop. The more you understand something, the more confidence you have in that area. Same thing with anything that does happen to impulsively generate some fear in yourself. Well, now once you understand what it is, you can deal with it better.
Of our thoughts and feelings are connected to our sexuality, to our victimization, our guilt, our suffering, our shame, our unworthiness, our self-doubt, or our importance, our control, our fear, our anger, our frustration, our hatred, our judgment. Those are the first three hormonal centers in the body, and those first three centers have everything to do with survival. And those centers are energy consumers. Orgasm, digestion, stress is a lot of energy that we're drawing from our very vital life force, our resource of light and information, and we're turning it into chemistry, and we're literally robbing the body's energy, right? So then living like that for the short term is okay, because the body can move back to homeostasis, it can restore itself, but when we're overdoing that consistently, then there's no energy for growth and repair, because you're living constantly in survival. So again, you can eat all the right food, you can do all the right things, but if you're living in anxiety and fear, and you're viewing your world from the worst case scenario that could possibly happen, because that's what you do in survival, there's no energy for growth and repair. There's no energy for healing. So the majority of our thoughts are signaling certain circuits in the brain that signal another part of the brain, the limbic brain, to make what's called a neuropeptide. Neuropeptides are chemical messengers that signal hormonal centers. So now you're taking thought and you're storing it as energy in these energy centers. And if you're living in survival, why would you open your heart? I mean, it's just not a time to open your heart. I mean, if you're getting chased by T-Rex, it's not a time to meditate. It's not a time to learn. It's not a time to connect. It's not a time to communicate. It's not a time to sit down and go within. It's not a time to be vulnerable. It's time to run, fight, or hide. And so,
is that why we're this way? I've never asked you this before. Is this some? I don't think you believe this, but I just want to understand. Is this some sort of genetic disposition that's been passed down to us since we've been chased by T-Rex?
I think so. I think survival has been very adaptive. Like, because if you're being chased by T-Rex, you don't run up to T-Rex and say, "Oh, cute little dinosaur, let me pet you. That's not adaptive. The fear is adaptive. You run from the unknown. You run from challenges, right?
Yes.
So if you're living in survival, there's better chances of surviving if you run from the unknown. And by the way, when you're living in survival, the infinite potentials in the quantum field, you'll select the worst case scenario in your mind. And you'll begin to emotionally prepare yourself for the worst case scenario because you have better chances of surviving.
There you go.
If you prepare for the worst, right?
There you
so
go.
people spend their whole life thinking about the worst thing and emotionally embracing it. Well, you take a thought and an emotion or an image and an emotion, you're branding or conditioning your body into what? Anxiety, into fear. So then you keep doing that over and over again, the body becomes the mind of fear. And whether you think you can control it or not, you're going to have a panic attack. And the panic attack is the body saying, you've conditioned me this way. Try as you may with your conscious mind to control it. You programmed it subconsciously. Then you start worrying about the next panic attack, and it's that very anticipation that keeps the person on the hamster wheel,
and robs them of all of this energy as well.
They're absolutely so they don't believe in possibility when they're living in that state, because in survival, it's not a time to create. All the blood flow is going to the hindbrain and away from the forebrain. There's no physiology really for a person to begin to create a new future. So think about it. So then 70% of the time, people in the world are living anticipating the next moment based on their past moment. And so they're laying reality down moment by moment with the next known, the next predictable moment. And so the hormones of stress endorse the senses. Our senses become heightened when we're under stress, and we become materialists. We narrow our focus on the danger. So then you're focusing on matter, you're focusing on the material world, and when you do that, you put all your attention, the arousal of the stress hormones puts all your attention on your body. If you're being chased by T-Rex, you better be paying attention to your body. When people start reaching this moment, my goodness, they're overcoming themselves. And now they're at that perfect place to create. And my definition of creation is when I forget about myself. That's when you're free. So some people can do it because they've practiced it. Other people can't get beyond the addiction of a certain emotion. That means their body is still their mind. So then if you're sitting in a meditation and your body's throwing the kitchen sink at you and saying, Ed, you're a loser, you're never gonna change, this is too hard, why don't you quit? And you're aware that that's your body doing that, and you say to your body, we're gonna sit here and we're going to sit in this fire, and I'm going to keep applying the formula, and your brain starts running to all the emails you have to do, and you become aware of that, and you return back to the present moment, and you tell the body it's no longer the mind, that you're the mind. Now your will is getting greater than that program, and there's a liberation of energy. And every time you do that, that's a victory. And you teach people. Every
time you do that, that's a victory. When your mind tells the body, I'm in charge.
When you say to when you want to get up and you want to quit, and you go, oh, no, that's my body, bring it back. And now you're taming the animal. The body is the animal, and you're like a dog. You sit, and if you keep doing this, you're climbing on top, and the body finally acquiesces. It finally says, "I'm not going anywhere." And then, boom! There's this liberation of energy. What's the side effect? Joy. Person's heart just automatically opens up, and every time they do that, those victories add up. There's no such thing as a bad meditation. There's only overcoming yourself. And when you sit in the fire and you work with that, people say to me, why do you meditate every morning? I say, because if I can overcome myself in the morning, the rest of my day is easy. It's easy. Not true? Because that's what it's about. You master yourself, you master your life. And so then all the chatter in your head that you listen to all day long, that is called the default mode network in the brain. Our research shows that shuts off. Not just shuts off during the meditation, it stays shut off for the rest of the day. So the critic in your head that's telling you this will never happen, you don't have enough time, there's no voice there. So you just have a clear flow on where you're going, and you trust yourself more.
Way number 5. If you want to be successful in business, you're not going to succeed on a large scale until you face the threshold of control. And once you face it, you'll face it again and again, but it'll become an old friend because you'll keep growing. What's the threshold of control? It's where you get to the edge where you feel like you just can't do it. Like if I put a dot in the middle of life and I go, this is a problem. And if you have a comfort zone that says, that's within the things I know how to deal with, you'll handle it. But if this is the circle of what you can deal with and the problem is way out here, it feels out of control, like I don't know what to do. So what we have to do is we have to learn to take where our comfort zone is and expand it. And the only way that happens, quite frankly, in most cases, is you face a real challenge. So I'll give you a metaphor. Have you ever gone skiing or snowboarding? And most people that ski are terminally, intermediate. They get to a certain level they're okay with, and they stop really growing. And the reason is because they don't push through their fears. They hit a threshold of control that they can't handle, and they pull back. And when you pull back, your world gets smaller, not bigger. Does that make sense? So if you've ever, let's say you're an intermediate skier and you're going down a nice green, easy, or blue slope, and you miss the wrong turn, and you hit a double black diamond, and your whole nervous system goes, oh my God, I'm going to die. I can't do it. But you can't go back. There's no place to go back. It's up. And you have to go down. Now you got two choices. One is you start to ski, you got to control, you look over the edge of the cliff, and you freak out and slam yourself against the hill and hang on for dear life to try to survive. And the people like that will never really learn to be extraordinary in skiing or snowboarding. And then there's the other person. The other person that says, you know what? If I look at what I'm afraid of, I'm going to stay afraid. I'm never going to master this. And so they focus not on what they're afraid of. They focus on where they want to go. And they just completely block out as much as they humanly can, even though the heart's beating like crazy. And they focus on where they want to go. And of course, wherever you focus, that's where your skis go. And so they go back and forth and they learn how to carve. Well, for me, I can remember, being up in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And I can remember being in a place where it's like I hit my threshold of control. I was beyond what I could handle. We had literally no money left. Some people that I was working with stole money from me. I was brand new in business. I didn't have the details. Things were on a handshake. And I had no capital, no way to do anything. And I'd broken beyond my threshold of control. There was no way to figure it out, but I did.
Now I've got a really special...
Scared that what if they lose all these things in changing? What if they go through all this terrifying, difficult work, and then the grass is not greener? The outcome is no better than I had it at the very beginning. I was terrified that with my business too. I thought, oh my gosh, what if I begin this business and I do all these things and I work my butt off, but I don't make it? I don't earn any more money. I don't have a better lifestyle. I don't grow as fast. What if on the other side of the fence, it's not any better? And we sit and we think, what if it's not better? And I have to go through all that. And if we're stuck there thinking that way, we never change. So part of the maturity and the mastery of life is realizing too, that instead of focusing on the outcomes that are negative, we can start thinking and dreaming about and visualizing and really giving our attention, our focus, and powers of attraction into those things that would be powerful and good and satisfying, fulfilling, happy, joyous on the other side of that fence. The things that would turn out to be wonderful and magnificent if we change our life. If I quit the smoking, I'm finally going to be able to feel good again. I'm not going to have to be addicted to some small little thing that's killing millions of people, that's just feeding these huge organizations that are killing people over and over and over again. I'm not going to perpetuate a disease in my body or in my family. I'm not going to make everybody carry on my addictions. Oh, you know what? In that new area too, I'm going to feel fit and happy and vibrant and energized on my own again. Oh, when I start that diet, you know what? I'm going to really enjoy tasting some new foods because I haven't tasted good food for a long time. I'm going to actually enjoy going out with people again. I'm going to enjoy shopping again to find clothes that actually fit my body. You start thinking about all the things that will be positive from that change. And when you do that, you start to master your mind and direct it better. Because you know what? When you're obsessing about loss pain, process pain, and outcome pain, guess what? The more you focus on those, the more you obsess about those types of pain, your brain and your body goes, no, don't do that. I don't want to experience that. Because we've built and we've been gifted with this incredible contraption here that is unbelievably driven to avoid pain. And when we realize that, then we have to stop suffering in our mind and stewing in our mind about the pain we might experience if we do the very things that would improve our lives. You and I both know what would improve our lives. Why aren't we doing it? Because somewhere there, we've probably associated a lot of loss, process, or outcome pain to it. And today might be a great day to sit down and say, what do I really want in my life? Why have I not been progressing faster? And when you start exploring that question of why have I not been progressing faster, you might discover loss, process, and pain at work, and you're gonna flip it now and focusing on the gains, the joys, and the positive outcomes. And when you start to do that, you'll find yourself being that joyous master. You'll find yourself getting further.
did you get, like, what are the techniques you used to get it going the other way so that it was being able to take those glimpses into beauty and turn them into a full-blown emotional experience?
A lot of self-talk. You know, I mean, there's been a lot of marketing material created around positive thinking and, you know, self-conversation, and they're making money on it, obviously, and I respect that to some degree, but the reality is just looking in the mirror and telling yourself the story that you want. I mean, and a lot of people tell the story that everybody else wants them to tell, right? So the marketing messages. So young girls right now, I'm fat, I'm ugly, my hair's not long enough, it's not blonde enough, it's not brunette enough, my hips are too big, they're not big enough, whatever it is, right? The story is being told from out here, and then you're bringing it to you. What you have to do is tell the story you want. And so for me, I didn't want to be the kid that didn't have a dad, didn't have a mom, that was abused, that was, you know, living in poverty. That's not the story I wanted. I wanted to be the powerful person. I wanted to be the one that people looked up to. I wanted to be the person that was respected with his friends, not made fun of with, you know, his classmates. So I just started telling that story over and over in the mirror. I mean, it was as simple as that. And then I started believing. You
started telling a new story about I'm that kind of person.
For me, yeah. Instead of I am for example, troubled youth, right? I was told that, oh, you're a troubled youth, Wes, so we need to help you. And I'm like, no, I'm not a troubled youth. Like I am a youth, right? So let's get rid of the word trouble. I'm a happy youth. I'm a playful youth. I'm a successful youth. Like fill the word in there that you want. And if you believe the word trouble, then much like the stutter thing, then that's what you are, right? You're just perpetuating that stereotype or that conversation more and more. And whenever I did that, which I'd have my moments of weakness where I would try and then fail. And as soon as I'd start like just kind of, okay, you know, body, just like everything, like frumpy and just like, all right, I'm just gonna give up. That's when my life became worse and worse, and I started making worse decisions. And then I started realizing like, wait, if I just keep pushing over here, it's hard as hell. There's no easy answer to this. There's no like, okay, well, every morning at 6 o'clock, you know, wake up and meditate for 10 minutes and tell yourself you're beautiful and then go, like, it doesn't work like that. It's a constant battle, and you're gonna have moments of complete and total defeat where it's just like, what am I doing? Like, why do I keep trying to do this? And for me, again, it was just reminding myself of, I want these happy moments. I want to have this life. And so it started to perpetuate in little things that I would see, like a new friend at school or a relationship, or, you know, it'd start to like blossom into different things. And then with the business, it would be, oh wow, like I can go and sell and I can do, and as soon as I started like seeing just a little bit of progress, then that motivated me for the next and the next, and just build and build and build. And I'd still say I'm building, like I still have issues, but it's just focusing on that different conversation, telling a different story, and the story you want. And that's the first thing I tell youth is like, look, don't look at my story, don't look at someone else's story. What's the story you want? And that's a really simple question, but it is such a difficult question for these kids to answer with all the different things coming at them from all the different angles, all the different marketing messages, their parent messages, the world messages, movies, all this stuff. Breaking down what they want, a lot of them have no idea because they've never thought that's even a possibility.